Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Clinic Scripts podcast. I'm Stacy from MarketTech. And today I'm joined by someone whose clinical insight and leadership in mental health truly stand out, Dr. Nadia Duso. She's a licensed psychologist and co-founder of Crosstown Psychology and Wellness Clinic here in Toronto. With over a decade of experience supporting adults, adolescents, and couples, Nadia brings a grounded, real-world perspective to today's conversation: how AI is transforming mental health care. Dr. Nadia, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so let's start broad. Well, you've been practicing for over 10 years. So from your perspective, how have you seen technology, especially AI, start to influence therapy and over mental health space?
I think that, as psychologists, I'll speak for myself, like I'm really starting to understand how AI can, I sense, complement some of the things that we do. I'm not leaning in yet to how I'm not fully sure of how I'm going to integrate it into my own practice. I do in small ways, but I've been looking at the literature around like AI complementing diagnostics or clinical assessment. I know that there's a huge space for it when it comes to the administrative work we do as psychologists, like our notes, our intake reports, even our psych reports, like those take up so much space. I also see the benefits of AI when it comes to really outreach, because a lot of clients or the general population may benefit from clinical work or benefit from like understanding their symptoms, understanding some coping strategies, and may not always be open to or may not always be able to do clinical therapy. So I see AI as really supplementing and offering a lot of important resources for the community at large. And I would prefer to more generic things like Google searches. I think AI offers a little bit more of a catered approach to at least the outreach piece for mental health.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. There's definitely a learning curve when it comes into integrating AI into day-to-day clinical work. And I love that already exploring where it can complement rather than replace. Well, just like you mentioned, something really interesting is how AI could actually help with the outreach and supporting people who might not overwhelm across therapy. So that leads perfectly into my next question. So do you think AI has the potential to enhance the therapeutic experience, or does it risk taking away from the human connection that is so essential in your work?
That's a great question. I think about that piece often as well, because the therapeutic relationship, the in-person or virtual relationship that we form is a huge portion of what makes change possible in therapy. So I don't see it as replacing it, because I think the therapeutic relationship is specific. It's unique to the relationships we form in general. And I think there's very much a place for that to continue in the work of psychologists and therapists, because I don't think we can replace it. But I see AI as offering supplemental tools to that. So for instance, if there are ways that, there's some apps right now that do CBT that, can enhance some of the strategies that maybe we talk about in session, ways of monitoring clinical change outside of session that clients can use, apps on their phones. We already see a lot of that being used around mindfulness, coping strategies, and sometimes clients will share that they've been using some of these apps and it has been helpful, and then the therapeutic work can complement that and make it more specific to them. So it could also be a combination of the two pieces coming together. I think I don't see it as competitive. I see it as integrative and parallel and joining in ways that can help the client in the best way possible. It's another resource to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like the therapeutic relationship really is like the heart of the work, and sometimes it can't be replicated by any, other tools. But at the same time, as you said earlier, there's a lot of potential for AI to support behind the scenes. So that brings me to a more practical angle. So I'm curious, are there any AI powered tools you've been started experimenting with, and maybe even just for staying organized or reducing admin load?
The only thing that I'm not really using AI just yet, I know that there's ways that AI could be integrated in what I'm doing. Right now, all of my work is done through a database called OWL. It's similar to Jane. I think a lot of psychologists use Jane as well. So it's a record keeping, a medical record keeping database that's all this how do I say this? But everything's done online. It's it's protected, confidential, but it has a similar features, I think, to where AI is going, where it has like
Mhm.
notes that we can use, like we write our notes, it's saved for us, all our administrative tasks are done seamlessly. So it's a one space for everything, and it's housed like every client has their records, their invoices, everything is connected, and I think that makes practice seamless and really efficient. I am starting to think about AI when it comes to content creation, just in terms of outreach. So I think about
Mm.
things like Instagram. I think about things like our monthly newsletter that we do at the clinic, where we are, trying to give out resources. So I can see a potential there. I haven't yet integrated it into my clinical work right now.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like the tools like Gen are already doing a great job streaming, like the workflow, even they are not fully AI powered yet. But it's
Yes.
like we'll already get a glimpse of where things are headed. And speaking
Mhm.
of that directions, so what do you think we should be doing to prepare the next generation of psychologists to work with AI instead of feeling like it's something to fear or avoid?
It's interesting because I was trained at a time where everything was done, paper pencil. Like our notes were
Mhm.
paper pencil, assessment reporting, writing, all of that was done. I don't say old school, but like we just did it like with our teachers, and we just did it in the classrooms and we learned it.
Yeah.
And there's something really important about that. Like I the risk I see with AI is that it could simplify a lot of how we get trained, in the sense that we sit down with our assessments, we have to understand the batteries, how we score
Mm.
it, how we write the report. I think once we have that solid understanding, there could be room for things that can help us get there or complement it or check it. Like I see that
Yeah.
as more like a checking point as opposed to replacing the work that we do. And that's just where I am right now. I think as we learn about AI and as we kind of integrate it more and more, we can understand it differently. But for training purposes, I can again see an integration of the two, where there's a lot of step by step breaking it down, students doing it, doing all the parts of our work individually and with their
Mm.
mentors and their supervisors and clinical supervision. And AI, there are certain ways that it can simulate, for instance, clinical situations or settings, and that could be an interesting add-on to clinical supervision. Maybe
Mm.
there are scenarios where AI can help support writing, support analysis when it comes to trends in research, for instance. A lot of clinical psychologists and psychologists in general do research, and I see AI as really helping us understand trends, understanding how things have changed, and things like assessment and diagnosis. So very similar to how I perceive it in clinical work, I see it as a coming together right
Mhm.
now, because I still very much see the benefits of how maybe I was trained, and that was really just sitting down and breaking everything down and learning how to do it old school, hands, paper,
Yeah.
calculators, and
Yeah.
then kind of once you know how to do it, then I think you could supplement it. But
Yeah.
I think we need
True.
to know how to do it first, right? Before we can supplement it.
Yes, that's such a valuable perspective because there's a real deep that comes from doing things manually first. And I agree, if we skip that, we risk losing, the clinical intuition. So building on that, do you think we will start seeing new roles in the field? Maybe psychologists who specialize in AI integration or ethic around AI use in therapy?
I think that it's going to be an individual approach. Like, I think that every clinician, every practice is going to make decisions based on their understanding, their comfort levels, what they feel best suits their practice, their clinic. Crosstown Psychology right now we're two psychologists, and we still want
Mhm.
to very much do the work, and we very much are still doing that work that we're trained to do. And I don't think that I see that AI has potential. absolutely for like the administrative work. I see it as complementing, allowing us to check things, understand trends. I think there's a huge research component to it that's really helpful. I see it with outreach in terms of reaching more people and offering more coping strategies to those that, may not be able to do therapy right now, or therapy isn't accessible for a lot of different reasons. And everyone needs support and everyone needs understanding of what's happening to them. And I think AI is a valuable place in that piece. I think I have questions around things like, we think about the confidentiality piece in psychology very much. And we think about client data. We think about things like, how is that all protected? How do we, right now, we own a lot of that data. We hold a lot of that data. And so we're almost introducing something that's going to be manipulating that data. So that's something that I think we need to understand better. Maybe I just need to understand it better. The other piece is the sensitivity to AI when it comes to variables that as psychologists we're trained to pay attention to, like multicultural sensitivities. We think about a lot of different things that affect diagnosis that are beyond just symptom presentation, and how equipped is AI to do some of that would be those questions.
Okay, absolutely. And I really love how grounded your approach is. It's it's reassuring to hear that adopting AI doesn't have to mean change everything overnight. Like you just said, it's about finding what fits each practice and using AI as a support system, not a substitute. So, Dr. Nadia, it's has been such a thoughtful and honest conversation. So before we wrap up, if our listeners want to learn more about your work or Crosstown Psychology, where can they find you?
So we have, they could absolutely go to our website with crosstownpsych.com. We also have an Instagram page, and they can email any one of us as clinicians directly as well.
All right, perfect. So for anyone interested, you can visit their website to learn more about Dr. Nadia and this amazing work her clinic is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Nadia, for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into the Clinic Scripts podcast. And don't forget to follow us for more conversation as the intersections of mental health and technology. So until next time.
Thank you so much, Lacey.